Hey everybody, I'm Joe DeGanzik, and this is Smarter Home Life Q&As for September 2017. Take two, because, well, the first time didn't work out correctly, and I'm doing this back-to-back with the October ones, so we'll actually be completely on time for a change, and I'll be caught up, and then we'll do the next one for November in December. So, got a couple questions, some good ones, on things like multiple hubs, SmartThings and Insteon, using HomeKit versus other apps, manufacturer apps, and having some issues with iOS 11 and home hubs and all that stuff. Remember that you can get me at questions@smarterhomelife.com. I don't always remember to mention that on all of the episodes, and I would probably get like 10 billion emails. But I do love answering the questions. They create some great content for the show, and that's it. The YouTube comment system is really messed up for creators to really monitor it, and especially to kind of go back in time every few weeks and actually try to compile the best of. It's just not a great experience. YouTube, please fix it. Let's get right on with it. Some really good questions, like I said this time. The first one coming from Mike Alt, and realize all of these have been answered, so everyone's got their answers already, but I think that these were some interesting questions. My question is pretty simple, and I'm going to try to paraphrase this because it's a long question. Can you have two hubs working on the same network? Will this cause a problem? The general answer is no. I have had numerous hubs working on this same network at a time. Philips Hue, IKEA, I don't want to say Insteon. It is Insteon. It's a software hardware-based hub, so to speak. SmartThings. I'm about to start fiddling around with Wink as well. That's for the upcoming video I've been teasing for a long time. So the short answer is no. And technically, if you think about HomeKit, even though you're not in that world, for those of you who are, you can have HomeKit not interact with, but it will coexist without a problem without other hubs. When I say that generally everything should work, it means individual hubs of separate technologies. SmartThings, Wink, all of your different devices being on different hubs and on different technologies, whether that's Z-Wave, Zigbee, Insteon, Lutron's Clear Connect. If they're all separate, you should be okay. If you're trying to mix multiple, say, Z-Wave or Zigbee hubs or Insteon hubs within the same premises and also potentially on the same Wi-Fi network, because they're going to have to communicate, and you're going to mix and match and have multiples of these around your home, you could run into some issues. That's where it's best to get some support. But the main question about multiple things, multiple hubs, not a problem. He says he's got 60 different items working on a SmartThings hub. He's extremely happy with that. He bought a Insteon switch, or an Insteon multi-button keypad, much like you see around my home that I've showed off before. Then he found out that Insteon is not compatible with SmartThings because Insteon is its own technology, similar to Z-Wave or Zigbee. Still, Insteon, I don't want to say it is the best technology out there because they're kind of reworking their platform right now to make it much more compatible with all the different modern things. It's still a good choice. I am certainly not going to tell you to not use Insteon. Let's see, he's debating whether to return the Insteon stuff and get an Insteon. He was debating whether to return, get rid of the Insteon stuff, or just get an Insteon hub. So that was his question. Can you have Insteon, SmartThings together? Yes, absolutely. They're completely separate technologies. You're not going to run into a problem. And the best thing is, on the Insteon hub and say SmartThings, you can link both of them to something like a Amazon Echo, Google Home, and so forth. And now with Amazon and Google pushing into the home automation market for real in terms of updating their apps and making not just one-at-a-time commands possible, but actual routines, or as we would call them, sequences, or I guess macros back in the day. You can then actually truly have home automation through those assistants. Still, that stuff is in its very, very, very infancy at this point, so I don't know that I would trust it. I do have an Amazon Echo Plus that actually arrived today. I'm picking it up tomorrow, and I'll be doing an unboxing and unboxing, but it's not that exciting, but I'll be doing a review and a first look and so forth and so on that. So That's the one that's got a smart home hub built into that. So another hub on the market. So yes, again, Insteon SmartThings, no problem. I've integrated everything into his Echo. There you go. And now all the Echoes, by the way, not just the Echo Plus, all the Echoes are getting this new software update through the Lady A app. I won't say your name. And the that app will control multiple things. So you could actually have a sequence of things, like a good night sequence hosted within Amazon's Alexa system that will then talk to and execute things on multiple smart hubs. So I've been saying that for a year and a half now, that they needed to do that and go that direction. Now they have. To Mr. Mike, you shouldn't have a problem at all with that setup, and I do invite you to email me back and let me know how all of that went for you. And let's just move right on to the next question. We'll only have 3 of them this time, and he has been a long-time subscriber. So thanks for writing in, and thanks for being a long-time subscriber to Smarter Home Life right here on YouTube. So the next one, Ryan Russell, who at the end of his statement said, I am a Patreon supporter, so thank you for being a supporter on Patreon. Every little bit counts. I'm building my smart home, and I'm trying to get HomeKit compatibility with any new product, which is much easier to do nowadays because more manufacturers are adding it retroactively through Apple's new framework they announced this summer, or the adjusted framework. And some of them are just figuring out ways to add it anyways, or they're finally releasing products that they promised a long time ago. Let's see. My question is whether to use the product app versus HomeKit. For example, Philips Hue gives you many good options, pre-selected scene or pre-built scenes and so forth. But I like the idea of simplicity. Help me out. Thanks, Ryan. So this is a big question. I'm going to probably put up, instead of doing a kind of a live demo, I'll probably be putting up some screenshots of my left and right in post-production. But the question is, like he said, is simplicity. And do you go with something like HomeKit, and for those of you who don't like HomeKit, don't like Apple, this is the same with going with any multi-system smart home hub. The same thing the same thing that you might run into with running on Amazon's Echo system to run your home automation with this new routines feature. Same thing with Google. Same thing with SmartThings. Same thing with Wink. Because what happens is every single manufacturer, we can just take lighting for instance, because a lot of the other devices, I don't want to say are boring, but we know that all of these smart light products and smart light strips are capable of a lot of effects. They're capable of a lot of different things that you can do with them, but many times you're limited to the manufacturer's own apps to do things that are really cool and exciting. The most specific that comes to mind is LifeX. LifeX, while they may not have as wide of a range of products like Philips Hue does, they have, to be honest, I mean, an unbeatable app in terms of the experience, the effects, the customization. The only way to access that is through the individual manufacturer app. You can't take a LifeX pre-built beautiful scene or an effect sequence that you can do on the LifeX Z Strip and throw that over to HomeKit and have it execute correctly. You can't do it on SmartThings without dedicated special support, and a lot of times the built-in smart apps or the built-in profiles within SmartThings are just going to do the basics. They're going to change colors for lights, they're going to change temperature for thermostats, they're going to go on, turn. They're going to go up and down for, say, garage doors. They're going to give you those basic features. For the advanced features, sometimes the manufacturers will work with SmartThings, Wink, etc., 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 and give you the additional options. They may not come as a immediate package in terms of when the manufacturer initially starts working with a manufacturer of a device starts immediately working with the company who makes the smart hub. They may make an initial release and then release an additional, a kind of more fully featured device profile, which turns into a thing that you can tap on and automate your home. But many times, unless you use the manufacturer app, you don't get those features. I kind of like to say this, going back to years ago when I did some lighting in the club scene and in special event lighting, and you were dealing with these massive stage consoles, and you would have all of these different brands of, we call them kind of digital luminaires, in the DMX world, and they had all these different channels. The fixtures were capable of all of this different movement, but unless you had the right console that could really support it, that actually would be run by special software to take advantage of it, it was a pain in the ass to try to take advantage of all the features on these amazing, beautiful lights that, the moving heads that have all the different patterns and colors and frost and so forth. And the same is kind of today with these smart home hubs, is to fully take advantage of the advanced features of some of these products. Like, there's no way in HomeKit, or I believe that I've seen in, say, SmartThings, to configure the infrared LEDs that are present in some of the LifeX products, the LifeX Plus products. They help out with your camera's night vision. There's no way to configure that. You have to go into the LifeX app to control it. This is probably going to be the way of things for a while, and I don't know how long a while is, but it's going to be a certain amount of time. The best way to make this happen, the best way to tell the manufacturers of these smart home hubs, we really want these additional features. And also, it's a combination usually of not just the smart home makers, but it's also the individual product makers. So send an email, tweet to both of them, send something, that's, a nice message. Don't just complain, but just say, look, I really like the features that are in your app. I can't access these features directly if I use something like HomeKit, which or SmartThings or Wink. And those features could be not available simply because of the limited set of things that a platform controls. When you have something like HomeKit, I'm going to get a little technical here. When you have something like HomeKit, when you have something like SmartThings and Wink, they all have custom controls, right? The experience that they want to give you is the same across multiple devices. The color picker looks the same, the temperature selector looks the same, the on-off switch looks the same. And for all of those scenes and automations to work correctly, all of that, those attributes that come from those devices have to kind of be filtered down into a common set of attributes that can work. So they're kind of obfuscating a lot of the technology away to make it simple on you, the consumer. Again, it takes some of that advanced stuff away. But if you contact both companies, it'll say, look, we really want this feature. Here's a feature that is missing in something like HomeKit, and that is the speed of the fade in terms of lights. Now, Philips Hue supports this, LifeX supports it, Sylvania supports it, Insteon supports it, iDevices, I don't think iDevices supports it. Who was it? Not Leviton. Leviton's new HomeKit devices also support, and some of their other products as well, support the ability to change the time in between, going from one light level to another. Some people call it fade rate, some people call it, ramp rate, whatever. That feature is missing from HomeKit. You can't set it at all. To me, that's a big thing, because when you want to go from like an everyday general lighting scene to like a movie time, you really want to have that beautiful long fade rate. So those are things that are missing that many people have mentioned, myself included, and it's up to us, the community of people who use this stuff, to say to Apple, to say to the individual manufacturers of devices, we want these advanced features. These things being missing from HomeKit, from SmartThings, from Wink. I'm just using those as general cases. You have to get out there and actually message them and say, look, we want this stuff to happen, and then they'll probably make it happen. So that's the long answer of that, but that really is where we are, and I don't know how. It's just, they're going to respond to demand, and that's really how it's going to work. So to Ryan Russell, thank you so much for being a Patreon supporter. Thank you for your email. Okay, so here's a little ad break. I talk about Patreon. I thank everybody and talk about a few other things. And a lot of people skip past it. I hope you don't. But anyways, all of these videos, Smart Home Life itself is made possible in part, I sound like a PBS pledge drive, made possible in part by State Farm. Not State Farm, seriously. But made possible in part by the wonderful people who support Smart Home Life on Patreon. Patreon's a crowdfunding platform. It's a monthly thing. You sign up, you choose an amount, whatever you like, whatever you feel that Smarter Home Life is worth, and worth to you on a monthly basis. And depending on what you pledge, you get cool perks. You get to chat with me live once a month with the other Smarter Home Life people. I just did an unboxing a few days ago live, and got to chat with people on a I think it was Saturday morning, Friday morning. The days have been kind of a blur, but anyways, lots of cool stuff behind the scenes. You find out what's going on before everybody else, and some sneak peeks and other kind of just perks and stuff like that as time goes on. And there's certain things that happen every month, including calling people out on the doing some shout outs on these shows, saying thank you to everybody. People like Michael Dewar, and I think it's either Dewar or Doer, so I don't want to, Michael D, let's just say that. He has been a longtime supporter at, at a, where is he at? He's been a great supporter. He's at $25 a month, and he's been supporting the show for nearly 2 years now. So it's 2 years now. I can't talk tonight. I'm trying to rush. Dustin, Alexandra, Mike, Alan, Christian, Grayson, Patrick, there's multiple Patricks, Laura, Adrian. So many people have been supporting the show, some new and some old in terms of long time. And some people have been donating at the very top level, like Jerry. Again, it allows the show to have a budget. And this is on top of the fact that, yes, there's revenue that comes in from the YouTube ads. It's much, much smaller than you would expect. In fact, everything that adds up is less than $1,000 a month. I don't generally quote all the specific numbers. It's not a problem to do it, but most YouTubers don't. But the whole budget for the show is less than $1,000. So trust me, I'm truly not sitting here making a tremendous amount of money off of this show, but I want it to have its own budget. It helps out with buying things when manufacturers simply just do not send me things to test because they just don't think that Smarter Home Life is big enough compared to like a CNET or a TechCrunch. And those are things like I did the unboxing the other day, the brand new Google Home Mini, the one that's kind of like shaped like a donut, but it certainly does not taste like one. I didn't try to really eat it, but I'll be doing a review of this coming soon. I've been playing around with it. I like it. It's the same Google Assistant technology, but it's slightly different. And things like some smart plugs. I want to do this just because we're going into the holiday season. People want to automate their lights and other things like TP-Link. And other companies who make smart plugs. This one works with both Lady A and also with the Google Assistant. So this stuff, I will choose to purchase certain things to do reviews when companies don't send it my way. I would prefer to actually not have any company send me anything for free because what it does is it puts a little bit of a connotation that I have to, even though they just want the opinion of the product, I don't want to have any type of, I don't want to be under the gun, so to speak, to have to do things in a certain way or have to say certain things. If you're not comfortable with supporting the show financially through like a monthly thing or a one-off, that's totally cool. If you're already doing some shopping, we know the holiday season is upon us. It's Halloween right now. Well, I'm not really celebrating Halloween. I'm not dressed up. But anyways, if you're already doing some shopping, you can head over to smarterhomelife.com/support. And that will give you a whole bunch of affiliate links from Target to Best Buy to obviously Amazon, multiple countries, not just the US, but Europe, European countries, Canada, and so forth. And Home Depot, a number of other retailers as well. Just click on one of those affiliate links, do your shopping, check out, and you're done. The show gets credit for it, a couple bucks every time. It all adds up. So to everyone on Patreon, thank you. And the last bit was, even though this has not affected Smarter Home Life, you may have heard other YouTubers complaining about demonetization. And this is YouTube going through because a lot of advertisers complained a year ago, 6 months ago. They're responding through a lot of AI initiatives and demonetizing or basically turning off monetization for some videos, maybe many videos on various channels that YouTube thinks are not appropriate for advertisers. Again, Smarter Home Life has not been affected. All of this is technology. I don't talk about weird topics and I don't go into politics. I mean, there are certain keywords. YouTube is literally doing transcoding, they're doing translation, and they're doing speech to text and then analyzing it. And if weird keywords come up, they literally will demonetize videos. They've had a lot of, there's been a lot of pushback from people like Marcus Brownlee, Casey Neistat, and so forth, the big YouTubers who are complaining about it, who some of them have been slightly affected as well. So, hasn't affected Smarter Home Life. It could, but of course there is an appeals process, but it makes sense to kind of not put all the eggs in one basket. I don't want to earn all the revenue for the show from the YouTube ads. I don't want to do it all from Patreon. I don't want to do it all from affiliate links either. It all adds up. It's all helpful, and you make it possible. In fact, on the next Q&A, which I'm recording immediately after this one, and it'll come out in the next 24 hours, I'll be talking about what actually you have helped me to accomplish relatively recently, and it's really, really exciting news. So let's get on to the last question, and then we'll wrap things up. Okay, the last question comes from Christian Alares, and I can kind of sum this up in the fact that sometimes with Apple, it doesn't just work. And for all of you who don't like Apple products, you'll laugh and be like, yeah, it doesn't always work. iOS 11, which came out last month in September, these questions are from September, so a little bit catching up on this, on these things. But for people who are getting into HomeKit, getting into iOS 11 kind of just now, and you're hearing about the new things like multi-user geofencing, which allows you to set up HomeKit so that if you're in a multi-person household, you have the ability to say, don't do an automation, like don't turn all the lights off unless everyone has left home. And do certain things based on when someone comes home, when you specifically come home. So there's a new level of automation within HomeKit in iOS 11. But the problem is, to set up some of those automations, you have to have a home hub, and that is either a Apple TV third generation, I'm going to say fourth generation at this point, or fifth generation now this year. So fourth or fifth generation, basically the larger kind of thicker boxes. An iPad running connected to power, or the upcoming HomePod. So the issue was, he was trying to set this up, and Christian was, and it said if you want to make automation based on other people's locations, which is that's what this is, you need to make sure you have the latest update on your home hub, which again, an iPad, an Apple TV, or the upcoming HomePod. And he said he did. So my advice to him was, well, check everything, run the updates again, and so forth. So ultimately the answer was, well, sort of have to do a hard reset the Apple TV. That's what he was working with, his fourth generation Apple TV. And that's what's happened to many people, including myself, a friend of mine who I've been testing some of those features with. A hard reset. The nice thing about the Apple TV, and really many of these streaming boxes, unless you use their built-in storage to say, to download movies and to do things locally on the device, or for games. Unless you do that specifically, these are pretty much just cloud-connected devices. Again, streaming media and music, movies, and TV shows, apps that connect to various services. So pretty much, and for some of the settings that are stored on these devices, they are also stored in the cloud. So basically, you can whack these devices, hard reset them to your heart's content, and then once you log back in after you do the reset, basically all of your settings will come back down, and you've initiated that full reset connection, which in the case of the Apple TV as a home hub for HomeKit, it will basically say, oh, everything's fine, I'm good to go. The reason you have to have a home hub in the first place, some of you are probably wondering, it's not required for HomeKit, but it is required if you want to have, I want to say reliable, but it really is helpful to actually have a smart home hub of some kind running your automations at home. While our internet connectivity in these days is a lot more stable than 10 years ago, and especially 20 years ago when many people were still on dial-up it would be 1997. I didn't have DSL until 99. So anyways, even though internet seems to be ubiquitous and fail-safe and it's pretty awesome these days, My feeling is, and you can tell this now with Amazon bringing a smart hub right into the Amazon Echo Plus smart speaker, that it's really helpful to have something that's always running, that's running your automations for you, that's on your network. And it also means for security purposes that those automations don't have to leave your network to actually do something. It's kind of dumb if to turn on a light bulb or to set a, and I'll say this specifically to Nest, to change your thermostat's settings, you have to go all the way out to the internet to some server cloud and then all the way back to your network. To me, that's kind of stupid. So anyways, the Home Hub acts as that automation store for Apple TV, iPad, or the upcoming HomePod. It acts as a way to store all these automations and to run them, because sure, you can set up HomeKit generally on your iPhone, but if your iPhone has your automations on it and you're away from home, you're out of cell range, your automations don't run. Simple as that. So it's better actually, and in some cases it's required to have automations, having the Home Hub as one of those devices. I'm not going to repeat it because I've said it like 5 times already. Running your automations at home as that Home Hub and enabling things like the multi-user geolocation and geofencing for home automation in HomeKit. I think that I said there's so many words that are the same that I've had to repeat. I'm going to lose my mind here. So that is it for the question from Christian. So thanks so much, Christian, for emailing in. And to everyone else, again, questions@smarterhomelife.com is the best way to get a hold of me. Now, the other option, the other service that I provide, it's a paid service. Basically, I started doing it at your request. People started emailing me about a year ago saying, I just want to get some of your time. I've got a challenge. I was working with someone he was originally from Spain. He moved to the UK. We had a great chat over Skype on, was that Saturday? Yeah, just a couple days ago. And talking about his concerns about home automation in a small place, talking about sensors and video security cameras and so forth, and door locks. Sometimes it's just easier to get my time to interactively ask me questions. I know I've worked with a number of you, and it really is great, and I enjoy doing it, and you get a lot out of it. And it's a reasonably priced. It's priced at what is it now? 50 or 60 bucks an hour. I think it's 50 for the Smarter Home Life faithful here on YouTube. But anyways, again, questions@smarterhomelife.com is the best way to get a hold of me on that. I'm changing the scheduling system, so the best way to set those sessions up is through email at this point. And I think that wraps it up. Again, Smart Home Life is on YouTube. It's across social media, and it is, I guess, like Visa, everywhere you want to be. So that is it. There's updates. There's fewer videos that are happening right now, and I'll get to more of that, of why that's happening, on the next Q&A coming out in the next 24 hours. So anyways, YouTube, then social media, of course, smarterhomelife.com for written content, many companion articles, and some articles that are unique, and there's no companion in terms of a video on YouTube. So check that out as well. And otherwise, that's it for the questions. Send them in. It's great content. I love answering them. And otherwise, I'm Joe DeGansek for Smarter Home Life. Make your home just a little bit smarter every single day. It just takes a little bit of effort. And otherwise, I'll talk to you next time.